For almost a year, we have investigated this case, seeking the many questions surrounding Jared's murder, and most importantly, to answer the question, who killed Jared?
We are following breaking news out of Florida this afternoon. You're watching Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae in for Ted Rollins. Before we get you caught up on the big court cases that we are following in courtrooms, there's been a major break in the murder of Microsoft executive Jared Bridegan out of Jacksonville, Florida. Police say he was gunned down in cold blood in February of 2022 on the side of the road with his 2-year-old daughter in the back seat. Authorities have announced a second man has been arrested, Mario Fernandez Saldana. He's married to Bridegan's ex-wife. Here's the news conference held by the state attorney's office along with the Jacksonville Beach Police.
Of the murder of Jared Bridegan. I'm joined here today by members of the Jacksonville Beach Police Department team, the ATF teams from Jacksonville and Orlando, and State Attorney Melissa Nelson and her team. I want to thank all of them for their efforts and cooperation to arrive at this moment for Jared's family, who also join us here today. To briefly recap, on February 16, 2022, Jared was driving home from a planned routine date night with his children. After dropping off his 9-year-old twins at his ex-wife's residence, he headed home with his 2-year-old daughter in a car in the back seat. While driving on a dark stretch of Sanctuary Boulevard in Jacksonville Beach, Jared came across a tire blocking his route of travel. The tire was purposely placed there to make him stop, which he did. Tragically, he began to exit his vehicle to move the tire, and he was gunned down in cold blood. We are now 13 months since Jared's murder, and we have not stopped working. In late January, we announced the arrest of Henry Tenen on several charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and second-degree murder. Today, we announced the additional arrest of Mario Fernandez Saldana for several charges related to Jared's murder.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Chief Smith and Special Agent Bryson. My continued thanks to both your and ATF's teams who have worked hand in glove with our team from the very beginning of this investigation to get us here today. This morning, Henry Tenen pled guilty to murdering Jared Bridegan. Specifically, Tenen entered a plea of guilty to second-degree murder with a weapon. Our investigation has revealed a single link between Jared Bridegan and Henry Tenen. That is Mario Fernandez Saldana. As part of Tenen's plea agreement with the state of Florida, he has agreed to testify truthfully against those he worked with to murder Jared Bridegan. As I said at our last update on this matter, we know Henry Tenen did not act alone. And Tenen has confirmed this to be true. Tenen's cooperation has both corroborated evidence collected during the investigation and provided additional evidence against Mario Fernandez Saldana for his role in the planning and execution of Jared's murder. Mario Fernandez Saldana is the husband of Jared Bridegan's ex-wife, Shayna Gardner. Immediately after Tenen's court appearance this morning, the Honorable Linda McCallum signed an arrest warrant for Fernandez Saldana for the charge of second-degree murder. After the warrant was signed, the lead prosecutor on this matter, Assistant State Attorney Christina Stifler, presented Fernandez Saldana's case to a Fourth Circuit grand jury, and the grand jury has returned an indictment charging Fernandez Saldana with first-degree murder. In addition to the first-degree murder charge, the grand jury also has indicted Fernandez Saldana for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, as well as child abuse. First-degree murder, this is a capital felony punishable by death or mandatory life in prison. Conspiracy to commit murder. Conspiracy to commit murder is a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years in prison. Solicitation to commit a capital felony. This is also a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years in prison. Child abuse. As I told you at the last update, this charge stems from the fact that Kirsten and Jared's then 2-year-old daughter was directly in harm's way when her father was shot and killed in front of her. This is a third-degree felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. This morning, as you've heard, while the grand jury was in session, ATF agents, Jacksonville Beach detectives, and the Orange County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Apprehension Team apprehended and arrested Fernandez Saldana in Kissimmee, Florida. He will be extradited to Duval County and go through first appearance upon his return. Our investigation remains active and ongoing, and it has not stopped today with the arrest of Mario Fernandez Saldana. We all remain committed to seeking the truth, and that is the entire truth, and holding accountable every single individual involved in the murder of Jared Bridegan.
We are here today feeling many emotions. We have great relief knowing that 2 of the people behind my husband's murders are now behind bars and are no longer a threat to our family. We are also still angry that they were walking free while we were grappling with the reality that Jared wouldn't be here for any future memories, vacations, or tender moments with our kids. Angry that our youngest, who was 6 months at the time of his death, will have no memories of her father. Angry there will be no new memories for Liam, Abby, Bexley, London, or anyone who knew and loved Jared. We have fought hard for the truth, and the world now knows what we have known all along, that Jared truly was an innocent victim. Since day one, those in charge of the investigation promised us that they would be relentless in their pursuit of accountability and justice, and they have been. We are grateful to the State Attorney's Office, Jacksonville Beach Police Department, the ATF, and any other agencies that have been involved in this investigation. Justice for Jared will not be stopped, and we will not be silenced. We know there's still a long way to go before all those responsible are truly held accountable, but today is a very significant day for our family. Thank you.
They're the widow of the Microsoft exec, Kirsten Bridegan. And joining me to discuss all of this, retired homicide detective Ken Williams in Oak Bluffs, Massachusetts, and our own Court TV, Matt Johnson, who is actually in Tampa now covering the Keatley trial. But Matt, you've been researching this case. You've been out there to Jacksonville even before this news of the second arrest, and you spoke with other family members about this investigation.
Right, Julia. Nice to see you. So my initial thoughts on all of this, I did sit down with both Adam Bridegan, Jared's brother, and his widow, who you just heard right there, Kirsten Bridegan. This family absolutely torn up. They get very nervous going up there and doing these press conferences, but she said that the police have been relentless. This family has been relentless to try to get answers in this case. And it's also really interesting the fact that they said all involved will be held accountable. This is an ongoing investigation. And then Kirsten said 2 of the parties responsible for his senseless murder have now been arrested. So that's alluding to the fact that there could be more arrests in all of this. When I did a sit down with both Adam and Kirsten, we talked a lot about the trauma that they've experienced this past year with no answers, reaching out to podcasters like myself daily, just trying to drum up information. And they said that every day they just look at those little kids, especially Bexley that was in the back seat, and they have to relive this trauma. Take a listen.
There's a lot of trauma in our family because we don't have those answers yet. And unfortunately, we do have to look over our shoulder because we don't know what else is out there.
Jared was murdered, execution style, after moving a tire that was intentionally placed in the road, according to police, on a narrow road, a one-way road. He couldn't pass it in a sanctuary neighborhood of Florida. This happened a year ago. His daughter in the back seat, she was only 2 years old. He had just spoken to his wife. She's traumatized. I'm told that she still remembers these events, Julia, and that's why the family has a foundation in her name, the Bexley Foundation and Bridegan Foundation, where they provide teddy bears and diapers to responding police officers and police stations in the area.
Oh, that is so hard to think that she has memory of this, but you heard the widow saying that she knows the toddler will have memories of her father, but their 6-month-old will never be able to remember her father. Really difficult what this family is going through. And I know you spoke to Kirsten as well, a sit-down interview back when Henry Tennant, I understand, he had been arrested, but there was still a question of why? Why would he have gunned down this father?
Because initially there was no connection that we could see, but then Court TV started diving deeper into all of this, and sure enough, Tennant had rented from the ex-wife's current husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana. So they knew each other in that regard. We did speak about the fact that, you know, I asked her, was there a connection at the time? This was in January, and this was her answer. Take a listen.
And part of me feels bad for Henry and his family, because it's pretty clear he probably had a rough life. And I don't know what got him to the point to be involved in Jared's murder, but he wouldn't have been involved without someone else involving him, because he had no connection to Jared.
And now we know, Julia, that he has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder.
And will testify on behalf of the state. Thanks so much for all of that, Matt. I do want to also bring in Ken Williams, retired homicide detective. Ken, when we're talking about investigating a conspiracy, it's not an easy thing for these officers and detectives who were involved in this, trying to figure out what the connection might be. Is that immediately what officers think about when they have a situation like this? A man who's gunned down, doesn't seem to be a robbery, but he doesn't seem to have any immediately apparent connection to the victim.
Yeah, I think initially, you know, at first you want to try to put the community at ease, because if this is a random act and the person's still out there committing these random acts, that means other people are in danger. So I think what police officers did was try to assess whether or not, you know, they could narrow this down, and they had. Obviously, they did. You know, there's the element of this crime, which is kind of interesting, is how did they know that the victim would be traveling at that specific time coming off of that exit? There's probably going to be more information that will come out as to how they knew that.
You're right. That is a very ironic, strange thing. And of course, police now have that connection and sharing that. And as Matt mentioned, there's this question of whether there will be more arrests. The state attorney's office wouldn't talk about that in the presser, didn't rule it out though, and we still have the question of this custody battle and the ex-wife, who would have been the real connection between this victim. So Ken, I just want to ask you, is there a challenge at this point to getting the husband or figuring out if the wife would be a suspect as well, when you have the husband that they say had the connection to the shooter?
You know, I think, you know, unfortunately in these type of situations, the motive is always going to be somewhat connected to a family relationship, money. In this particular case, you have custody issues. So, I mean, it depends on how much everyone's willing to talk about, you know, what the root causes of this heinous crime were.
All right, Ken Williams, thank you so much for your insight. Matt Johnson out in Tampa breaking in with this news for us. We appreciate